Ernesto Che Guevara was more than just a man. He became an idea, a symbol echoing through decades and across continents. His legacy is woven into the fabric of revolutionary movements, inspiring countless people to question the world around them and to dream of a different future. His face, immortalized in a single photograph, is recognized worldwide, from Havana's bustling streets to university campuses across the globe. The iconic image has become a universal shorthand for rebellion, hope, and the desire for change, appearing on posters, t-shirts, and murals in places far removed from where he once walked. For some, he represents rebellion and the courage to fight for justice, a beacon for those who feel powerless, a reminder that one person can ignite a movement. For others, he's a controversial figure, whose methods and legacy spark heated debate. His life and actions are dissected in classrooms and cafes, his image both celebrated and condemned. But behind the icon lies a complex story of idealism, struggle, and contradiction. Che was a thinker as much as a fighter, a man who wrestled with the moral costs of revolution. Che's journey began in the comfort of a middle-class Argentine family, but his relentless pursuit of revolutionary ideals would take him across continents. His travels through South America opened his eyes to the deep inequalities and suffering faced by ordinary people. He believed the suffering of the poor was not fate, but the result of an unjust system that had to be dismantled. This conviction became the driving force behind his actions, shaping his worldview and his sense of purpose. The nickname Che marked him as an outsider, an Argentine who made Cuba's fight his own, transcending borders for a larger cause. He became a citizen of the world, lending his energy and vision to struggles far from home. To understand Che, we must look beyond the simplified symbol and explore the experiences and ideas that shaped him. His story is not just about revolution, but about the search for meaning, justice, and a better world. His life forces us to ask, what does it truly mean to fight for what you believe in? And how far would you go to change the world? Ernesto Guevara de la Serna was born in 1928 in Argentina, into a progressive family. Despite severe asthma, he became both an athlete and a voracious reader, shaped by his father's library. He studied medicine at the University of Buenos Aires, but his real education came on the road. In 1952, Guevara and Alberto Granado set out on a motorcycle journey across South America. Witnessing poverty and injustice firsthand, especially at a leper colony in Peru, transformed his worldview. He saw the continent's suffering as a single problem demanding radical change. The journey, later chronicled in the Motorcycle Diaries, forged his revolutionary consciousness. No longer just a medical student, he began to see himself as part of a larger struggle. The trip gave him a diagnosis for Latin America's ills, and he would spend his life searching for the cure. After his transformative journey, Guevara finished medical school but sought political change, not a doctor's office. In Guatemala, he witnessed the US-backed coup that toppled President Arbenz, cementing his belief that peaceful reform was impossible under US influence. Forced to flee, he landed in Mexico City, a hub for political exiles. There, in 1955, he met Fidel Castro, a meeting that would change history. The two shared a vision of armed revolution. Guevara quickly pledged himself to Castro's cause. He joined as the group's doctor, but his commitment and clarity made him much more. For Che, Cuba was the first front in a continental war against imperialism. The meeting in Mexico was the spark that ignited the flame. The young doctor had found his commander. Castro had found his most dedicated lieutenant. Together they set out to change the course of history. In 1956, Che Guevara, Fidel Castro, and their determined band of revolutionaries set sail for Cuba aboard the Granma yacht. Their mission was clear, to ignite a revolution that would change the course of Cuban history. But as soon as they landed, they were ambushed by Batista's forces, suffering heavy losses and barely escaping with their lives. The survivors, battered and scattered, retreated into the dense Sierra Maestra mountains, where the real struggle was just beginning. Guevara, himself wounded in the chaos, began as the group's doctor, tending to the injured with limited supplies and unyielding resolve. But the hardships of guerrilla warfare demanded more than medical skill. Che's discipline, courage, and unwavering commitment quickly set him apart, and he soon emerged as a natural leader among the rebels. Faced with the brutal realities of combat, Che made a fateful choice. He picked up ammunition instead of medicine, symbolizing his transformation from healer to warrior. This decision marked a turning point, both for Che and for the revolution itself. As the rebellion gained momentum, Che's responsibilities grew. He trained new recruits in guerrilla tactics, repaired weapons under the cover of night, and even published a clandestine newspaper to spread revolutionary ideas and keep morale high among the fighters. Known for his strict discipline and willingness to make hard decisions, Che enforced the harsh rules of guerrilla life. He demanded loyalty, sacrifice, and unity, earning both respect and fear from his comrades. In 1957, recognizing Che's leadership and tactical brilliance, Castro promoted him to Comandante, the highest rank among the rebels. Che's defining moment came at the Battle of Santa Clara. Outnumbered and outgunned, his forces executed a daring plan to derail an armored train, capturing the city and delivering a decisive blow to Batista's regime. This stunning victory shattered Batista's hold on power and sent shockwaves throughout Cuba. On January 1, 1959, Batista fled Cuba. The revolution had triumphed and a new era was about to begin. Che Guevara had entered the fight as a medic, but emerged as a conquering hero and a symbol of revolutionary change. His legend was born in the rugged mountains of Cuba, where he inspired hope and fear in equal measure. Soon, the world would know his name, and Che Guevara would become an icon of revolution far beyond Cuba's shores. With the revolution's victory, Che became a key architect of the new Cuban state. As commander of La Habana fortress, he oversaw revolutionary tribunals and executions of Batista's supporters, a controversial legacy. He was appointed head of the National Bank and later Minister of Industries despite no formal training. Che pushed for rapid industrialization, agrarian reform, and the creation of the new man, a citizen motivated by duty, not material gain. He championed voluntary labor, often working alongside ordinary Cubans. His Marxist-Leninist vision drove nationalization and a break from U.S. influence, deepening ties with the Soviet Union. Che's radical idealism inspired millions but also drew criticism for its harshness and economic consequences. He believed revolution was about transforming both society and human consciousness. For a generation, Che became a symbol of hope and radical change. Che was never content as a bureaucrat, his vision was global. By the mid-1960s, convinced his work in Cuba was done, he vanished from public life, resigning his posts and leaving in secret. In a farewell letter to Castro, he declared his duty to answer the call of other nations. His first stop, the Congo, where he tried and failed to ignite revolution amid chaos and disunity. The experience was a harsh lesson in the limits of exporting revolution. Undeterred, Che returned to Cuba, then set his sights on Bolivia, believing it could spark a continental uprising. He saw Bolivia as the strategic heart of South America, hoping a small guerrilla force could inspire widespread revolt. This was to be his ultimate mission, a final gamble for global revolution. Che's journey was now one of relentless pursuit despite mounting setbacks. The stage was set for his last campaign. In 1966, Che Guevara arrived in Bolivia, disguised and determined to spark a new revolution in South America. He believed that Bolivia, with its central location and history of unrest, could become the heart of a continental uprising. Che slipped into the country under a false identity, leaving behind his family and fame, ready to risk everything for his ideals. He established a guerrilla camp deep in the Bolivian jungle, gathering about 50 fighters from different backgrounds: Cubans, Bolivians, and a few other international volunteers. Their goal was to train, organize, and inspire the local population to rise up against the military dictatorship. But the mission was plagued from the start. The terrain was unforgiving, with dense forests, steep mountains, and relentless rain. Supplies were scarce, and the fighters struggled with hunger, exhaustion, and disease. Local support was almost non-existent. The Bolivian Communist Party, which Che had hoped would help, withheld assistance due to political disagreements and mistrust. The peasants, instead of joining the cause, viewed the foreign fighters with suspicion and fear. Many were wary of getting involved in a conflict they didn't understand. Some locals, fearing for their safety or hoping for rewards, informed the authorities about the guerrillas' movements and camps. This left Che's group isolated, constantly on the run, and hunted by the Bolivian army. The odds were stacked against them from every direction. The Bolivian army, now aided by American advisors and the CIA, used advanced tracking methods and local informants to close in on the rebels. The pressure was relentless. For 11 months, Che's band was relentlessly pursued through the jungle, forced to move constantly to avoid capture. Weakened by hunger, disease, and exhaustion, the fighters' numbers dwindled. Morale was low, and hope was fading. On October 8, 1967, the Bolivian Rangers ambushed and captured Che in the small village of La Higuera. He was wounded, exhausted, and unable to escape. Held overnight in a schoolhouse, Che faced his final hours with defiance. The next day, on orders from the Bolivian High Command and with CIA approval, he was executed. Che was just 39 years old. His body was displayed to the world as proof of his death, a warning to others who might follow his path. Then, in secrecy, he was buried in an unmarked grave, his final resting place hidden for decades. The revolutionary's life ended in obscurity, but his legend was just beginning. Around the world, Che's image became a symbol of rebellion and hope. The world would never forget his face. Che's death transformed him into a martyr and a global icon. For millions, he became a secular saint, a symbol of rebellion and sacrifice for the oppressed. His image inspired anti-colonial and anti-capitalist movements worldwide. Yet for others, he was a ruthless ideologue responsible for executions and repression in Cuba. Critics see him as a dogmatic enforcer of a totalitarian regime, his economic policies disastrous. His failures in the Congo and Bolivia are cited as proof of arrogance and flawed theory. The debate over Che, saint or sinner, remains deeply polarized. His legacy is both celebrated and condemned, a mirror for our own beliefs about justice and revolution. Decades after his death, Che Guevara remains a lightning rod, provoking, inspiring, and dividing. He embodies the question, when faced with injustice, what is the right thing to do? His life is a radical answer, total commitment to revolutionary change, whatever the cost. For many, he's a symbol of action and sacrifice. For others, a cautionary tale of zeal turned repressive. Che's story warns of the dangers of utopian dreams unmoored from humanity. His failures remind us that ideals can shatter against reality. Ultimately, Che is a mirror. What we see in him reflects our own hopes and fears about change. His example is both heroic and terrible, a continuing conversation about the price of transformation. Che Guevara's story is not just history, it's a challenge for the future.